Hello, fellow mamas. This is Jessica, aka the Herb Mama, and I am here to share something with you that my grandmother shared with me many years ago, and that is herb infused wines. That's right, herb infused wines are a real thing, and they're exceptionally helpful in helping with things like aches and pains and cramps and bloating, if you know what I mean. So, we're going to talk about an herb infused wine that is particularly useful for helping mitigate menstrual discomforts, PMS, cramps, bloating, those types of things. So what I've got here is a regular old canning jar. It's been boiled and dried to help keep the bacteria down. I've got my blend of herbs in here. Now in here I have yarrow. Yarrow is known to help arrest bleeding. It's a hemostatic. So that can be very beneficial if your cycle is particularly heavy, which really happens to me after every kid. We also have chamomile, which is going to help with your tummy issues. I don't know about you, but my tummy always feels a wreck around that time of the month, and I also have some really uncomfortable like bloating, and so there's ginger in there too to help chamomile out with that. Now you don't want too much chamomile because, believe it or not, chamomile is actually a bitter. So it can get a little bitter, but don't worry, just a little is in this recipe. In addition to that, I've got some licorice. Licorice is called the great harmonizer in Chinese medicine, and so it just helps all the herbs work better together and do their job more synergistically. I've got some rose hips. Rose hips have a fantastic kind of sweet sour flavor that I think goes super well with a nice red wine. Something lighter is probably best. And then, last but not least, I have cramp bark. Now, cramp bark is going to help relax some of those cramping feelings that you're having and help the discomfort. So all we do is we take our herbs, we have our powdered herbs here. If you can see that there's about an ounce worth of herbs in there that have been ground up fairly fine. Now, I harvest and dry my herbs, or I purchase them from a trusted wild crafter or herb farmer, and I keep them in the larger, what they call cut and sift consistency until use, because that keeps them from breaking down and keeps them fresher. And this recipe is preferred to use your dried herbs as opposed to the fresh, because the alcohol content in the wine isn't going to be high enough to truly preserve it if it were to have the fresh material that would have more water in it. Okay, so we've got our herbs in there, and we're going to add our wine. Now, I'm not using a super high quality of wine because the herbs are going to change the flavor of the wine, and that's not necessarily predictable to everyone's palate. So I would use a wine that's not, you don't want cooking wine, but also you don't want like top shelf wine. So get kind of a mid-grain wine, something that you would enjoy drinking any given day, but not gonna break the bank, if you know what I mean. Move that licorice over there. Okay, that's looking pretty good. We want about 2 cups of we'll probably end up with about 1.5 cups. There, I'm making a mess. Okay, so we're gonna stir this up. Now, you can do this recipe by weights and measures, which is what I do with pretty much all of my herbal recipes because I want consistent and clear results. But you can also just do the folk method, where you dump in some herbs and you cover it with whatever your menstruum or your solvent, whatever you're extracting it with, in this case is the wine, and then you just make sure that it completely covers the herbal material with about 1 inch or 2 space on the top. Okay, we want to get all that in there and get it good and stirred up. So there we go. I've got a red blend in here. Nothing too picky, nothing too fancy. I'm going to try changing up this recipe a number of times. You could do things like shatavari in here, or Vitex to help as a hormone balancer to help smooth out those cycles some. You could also add a relaxing Nervine, some California poppy, maybe some skullcap, something like that to give the relaxing component to it a little bit more of a oomph. But now that we've got our menstruum or our wine in there, we're going to give it a shake. We're going to shake it a couple of times every day for 14 days, and then we'll strain it and we will have our herb infused wine. Now, you can take as little as a tablespoon or as much as a shot glass, maybe even more depending on your tolerance. But again, be sure that if you're lactating that you are really conscientious and precautious there. And for me, I might even avoid it until I'm not lactating. And if you're pregnant, definitely avoid the medicated wines. Thanks so much. If you have any comments, if you have any questions, if you've ever used herb infused wines, drop a comment below. If you'd like to purchase an herb infused wine kit for yourself for holiday survival or for someone else that you love, be sure to message.